Welcome to the Opinionated Geek podcast. I am your host, John Hanna, and once again, I'm changing stuff up again. Uh, so we had some issues with the way I had it set up last week. Uh, there was no problems during the podcast streaming it, but I found out afterwards when I was actually streaming some games that I'm almost positive it was the heater that was coming on and it was vibrating the floor ever so slightly, causing the microphone stand where I had it set up to vibrate and hit the microphone, and it was causing issues and it was getting into my actual recordings. So that was actually the first time I've ever had that issue. So that's pretty cool. And now I realize that there are shock mounts for a reason. For the most part, I thought shock mounts were just there to look cool, even though they said it was to help with rumbling and possibly hitting the mic stand and stuff like that. It would not cause any issues with that whole nonsense. But I realized, that wasn't true, because as soon as you hit a microphone, even the microphone stand with your hand or something, it's going to make noise and it's going to make a ruckus, an annoying ruckus at that. So we are now also on top of that not using the Shure SM57 or the SM58. We are using my AKG Perception 420, and hopefully this will be maybe the final straw. My issue is I want it close to my face, but I also don't want it to like show up on the stream, and it's hard to kind of put it in a place where I can actually enjoy my desk and use my desk, and also have a microphone. And the one way that I had it before, I had a boom style uh, clamp that clamps to a desk on the back side of my thing, and it's totally rigged in the most stupid way because of the way my desk is designed. There's no corners, there's no edges. It's one like piece of wood essentially, because even the ends of the desk, they're just it's a U-shaped desk, and on the back it's completely solid, so there's no edge on the back. It's annoying, to be quite honest. So I can't clamp it anywhere on the desk. So what I did was I have two I don't know what the heck you want to call them. They're like bendable lamps with spring in it and stuff. You know how they are. I have two of those, one on each side, which helps with the lighting. And what I have is one of them is ever so slightly hanging off the back of the desk, and I have the stupid thing clamped to that. Now, naturally, the lamp is too light. It can't hold the microphone and the stand. It would just fall over. So what I did was I have a 10-pound kettlebell sitting on top of the lamp at the base. So that basically is what holds the stupid thing in place. So that was my initial setup. Then I tried, the microphone stand right beside my desk. That obviously caused the rumble issues. So now we're trying just a typical. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like because the microphone is closer to my face, uh, I do sound a lot more, I think, intimate. And due to the fact that it is both my microphones that I've been using were dynamic microphones. This is a condenser microphone, so it should pick up more. Uh, Overall, the spectrum of the sound is much more wider, where the dynamic microphones are pretty on the muddy side and don't catch a lot of the highs. So this one should have some highs in it. Obviously, I have a little bit of bass boosting going on with my voice, so it will definitely do the lows. So this is one thing that I'm doing uh, that's different, and I can't now sit back and do what I was originally doing because of the way everything's set up. But nonetheless, we're going to try to work with it. But moving into 2019, I want to do a couple other things to try to make it better for everyone, uh, for a listening experience and maybe watching experience later in the future. Uh, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to start trying to be better. Obviously, not starting this week, but like maybe starting next week. Of not trying to do stuff off the cuff so much, and start really getting down to the nitty gritty, writing stuff down, making sure I have stuff, my talking points that I want to talk about, and I'm even and if everything goes well, I might even have talking points and not even points. Like these are my things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to write almost a script essentially about it. So it will be a podcast still, but it might be a little bit more planned instead of just off the cuff type of thing. And to do that, I'm going to be making, I'm hoping, a teleprompter. And how that is going to work, uh, we'll have to see how I'm going to do stuff because I got my tablet for the shortcuts, so I can do all the transitioning stuff. So I don't have to like fiddle with a computer while I'm doing this. And there goes my desk. I will never understand computer chairs. Every once in a while, this thing all of a sudden just go back on me, and I wish it could actually do that all the time, but it doesn't all the time. It sometimes just gets stuck in a more forward. It still goes back a little bit, but it stays forward essentially. And then every once in a while, it'll just say, "Nope, you're going back further." And I wish I could actually, make it work the way I want it to work when I want it to work. So we got the teleprompter idea. So how this is going to work, I thought I could actually just maybe get a semi-professional teleprompter stand and for tablets, and that turned out to be a no-no. I went on Amazon, and you're going to be paying hundreds of dollars for these stupid things. So then I'm like, well, what other options can I do? So I went on YouTube, and there's multiple different options from like you can make one for $20, $30. I went on this one guy's. It says you can make one for $0. Now, obviously, he was working with whatever he had in his house. That would actually kind of blow my mind if he literally had every single little thing he had on hand. Because half the stuff, I'm like, why do you have that on hand to begin with? You would buy that stuff for projects such as this type of thing. But anyway, essentially, how you do a teleprompter is you all you need is a teleprompter app, which there's I think a couple of them. I'm sure for Android and iOS, and then you basically lay that flat on the surface that you are going to be having your near your camera essentially, and then you make a 45-degree ramp for the actual thing that you're going to be looking at so you can read it. And what you basically do is you put a piece of glass at a 45-degree angle, uh and let's see let's hear this is like the 45-degree angle, uh and then your tablet is going to be sitting at flat. uh So you're basically like putting a roof over your tablet for the audio listeners. And what that does is it reflects so that the light from the tablet will reflect on the glass and you'll be able to see it. And because you're using a teleprompter application, it will have the words mirrored so that it comes up and you can actually read it properly on the actual piece of glass. And of course, you're going to be covering that completely, so no light can get in. So that way, the light's not showing through the glass, because then you won't be probably able to see the reflection of the tablet. And then basically, because it's glass, it can be you can look through it. So basically, what you do is you put the camera right behind the glass. Now, obviously, I won't be able to sit up this close to my uh, computer, so it'll be kind of annoying. Maybe we'll think about getting a second uh, webcam, so that way we can do this a little bit better, and that way I don't have to constantly, after I'm done the podcast, if I want to stream a game, I need to move everything and then put my webcam back on my computer where it should be for when I'm streaming games. So gotta think about some options there. And of course, the other thing is if I'm using two tablets that I already have to do the podcast, am I going to need a third one, or can I, because I'll be using the teleprompter to do my podcast, I'll actually not need it for my news, and I can just use it as the teleprompter type of thing. We'll see. We're going to fiddle with stuff. So that's the one thing I'm planning on wanting to do. And then of course the next thing is it's been kind of hard for me to think about how I'm going to do this because I rent. Uh, and I want my room to sound a little bit better. And I have no treatment up. So the only thing I can think of is studio foam, essentially. And the problem with studio foam is there's multiple ways. Like some people will say, use the what is it? Dang it, is it contact? It's not contact. M4 products, but basically, they do the whole. They do this for a lot of like college dorms and stuff too. But basically, you can. It's like double-sided sticky things. You stick it on the wall, and when you go to move, supposedly you can take it off the wall, and it won't leave any mess, and it actually can hold a fair amount of weight. Uh, I don't ever quite believe that. I think it always will take some stuff off the wall. Granted, ours is plaster, but essentially, when it comes to studio foam, there's that method of putting it up, and a lot of people say it's kind of a pain, and if you don't do it properly, it just doesn't stick, and you need to use multiple of those things, and those sticky things can get expensive for what they are. And then, of course, the other option is just gluing the crap right on, but usually that's a permanent thing, and it's a pain in the butt to get off if you do that. So I was trying to think about like what can I do to actually make this happen because I'm tired of this constant idea that I always have about making, and it would help for me mixing music when I decide to mix some music whenever I fiddle with music again. Uh, it will help with that because then the reflections off the walls and stuff wouldn't be bouncing as much. So the thing that I've decided to do, and I think it'll work fairly well, and it might even be good for moving purposes too. Those clothing, uh, the dressing walls or the room separators, like they have back in the Western times, where it's like the girls would go behind the that little wood panel essentially and get dressed in the same room, and then you don't have to actually worry about going into a different room, but you can still have your privacy. I think I'm going to try to find two of those really cheap. Hopefully, I can find some on like a Craigslist or someplace like that somebody's wanting to get rid of one. But basically, I'm going to do those. They fold up. Granted, they won't fold up so well when I actually have the foam glued to them. But yeah, I think I'm going to glue the studio foam to those, so that way I can actually it would come in handy for multiple things, uh, because they're movable then. So my one plan is to have the one of them is going to be behind my computer desk, so I can actually hit the reflections that my voice is hitting right away. It won't reflect there, and then right behind my green screen, I can have the second one. And then, if I'm not using it at the time, then I can just put it up against the wall and it won't be a hindrance. But it's actually, I just thought about that. If I ever want to like make uh like a so-called sound, like a not real a real sound booth, but a quasi do-it-yourself sound booth, I can take that the one that's behind my uh back, and because they fold, I can put it, a nice put it around me, and then I can do some vocal stuff or maybe voiceover stuff, uh, without too much issue. So I think this might be actually a really really good idea, and yeah, I think that's a doable goal by 2019, not by 2019, but in 2019. I think the other two things, they're not necessarily a necessity, but I would like to have them in the future. I would like to get a stream deck from Elgato. It's functions similar to the shortcut keys from the OBS Streamlabs, uh, Streamlabs OBS app that I'm using to transition and do all that stuff. It's similar to that, except it's got only 15 buttons, but those 15 buttons you can actually have them go into folders essentially that can have other options. Uh, but the nice thing about the Stream Deck is every button is an LCD screen, and why I say that's at first you think oh, that's just a gimmick and flashy lights type stuff. Uh, but no, actually, right now I have to look down, and because of how Streamlabs OBS works, is right now they don't have any way of deleting stuff on this app, but they have if I start deleting stuff on the actual Windows application, then it'll start stuff will start disappearing off of this app, and that's not cool because some stuff I always want to have up there on the actual Windows application, but I don't necessarily need it on the application on the iPad. So that's kind of like the issue with that. Now, with the Stream Deck, it's completely customizable. You put what you want on there. And of course, since every button is an LCD screen, then you can start putting stuff according to visual cue as well as dialogue. So if I want to talk about D&D, I can literally have a D&D uh, picture on the button. So then I know without even like looking at, without just glancing, I don't have to really read it. I just see that the dragon asterisk, and I know that's the button I need to push. Now, again, this is like first world problems. I don't need this, but it would come in handy to make stuff more intuitive and flowing. Also, another product Elgato has, which I think this is probably more important than the Stream Deck to me anyway. Right now, I'm just dealing with what I have and I could upgrade to something in the middle between the Elgato and what I have now. But I'm one of them people, I don't like to keep on spending money. I like to purchase something once that will last me. That way I don't have to constantly spend money. And usually that means I buy the more expensive stuff, but to me it's worth it. Elgato has a green screen that is retractable. Now, the retractableness isn't necessarily needed, but it's a nice feature, and you can retract it and push it out of the way very easily. This thing that I have right here, it's literally a piece of cloth that I got from Joann Fabrics, and it's actually on a garment rack. And just due to the way the garment rack is and the fabric, it's not nice and tight and taut. Now, like I said, for I could actually get a green screen on Amazon, and it comes with two stands to hang it up and stuff like that. That's great, but that's more of a semi-permanent situation where you're going to have it up and you're going to have it up for a while. Uh, if you ever need to use the room for something else other than that, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get down and all that stuff. Plus, you're looking at from 30 to roughly $70 for that middle of the ground green screen option. I'd rather just go to the most expensive option. And granted, it's not the most expensive. The most expensive would be like completely doing your whole entire room type of thing with like green. But just getting that and calling it a day. And that way I have something that's versatile and usable. And frankly, I could just take it wherever I wanted if I wanted to. Again, these aren't those Elgato things aren't a necessity because again we're using the green screen right now, but the green screen also would be a lot bigger than what I have here, uh, and we wouldn't have so many issues where if the lighting is not right due to the shadows of it just being a cloth hanging, uh, we would actually have a much better looking experience. And then, of course, the other one, if everything goes according to plan, and I do my research better and start doing a semi-scripted type show, we will then most likely start finally doing uh, the model that I want to go for when it comes to starting to make money. I want to start doing the if you feel like this is worth your if you are getting value out of the podcast in any way, then I will direct you to a Patreon that you can donate $1, $2, $5, whatever you want. But as of right now, I would even be cool if once I open up the Patreon, if I can just get enough to pay for the monthly fee to even to do this podcast, which is a $15 a month uh fee. So even that would be cool. I don't even expect people to necessarily pay for that and the what you call it, the domain that I have. That I don't care whether that gets paid for or not, but it would be really really cool if I could actually finally take that weight off me of the $15 a month. Because for me, $15 a month is a lot of money, but I'm doing this as a hobby, and it's been helping me out with communicating and talking, and yeah, it hasn't been the greatest podcast, but it helps me, and if I can actually move forward with making a better podcast for everybody, and everybody starts getting more value out of it than just me, uh, that would be awesome. So, all that out of the way, that's for 2019. Now we're going to move on to what I have been playing on and actually start the frickin' podcast. Uh, this time I actually got a drink too. Last podcast, I was suffering there for a while, and I started doing the coughing and stuff. I'm not used to talking at all, even remotely, a lot. So when I even start talking for 10 minutes, my voice will start to have issues, and because I don't talk at all in most of my life, in my day to day thing. So see, this is where I'm like looking where I'm supposed to start with my buttons. Alrighty, so let's talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance. I posted a video. In fact, actually, I thought it was kind of cool. I was going to do a lot more cooler stuff to the video, but I realized it's annoying. But I started with one of the humble bundles when it was like you get like for $20 you get a whole bunch of software. I got a one for Magix, Magix. They're a bundle of their products, and one of them was Vegas Pro 14 Edit. I'm not sure what the difference between just regular Pro and Edit is, but it's something small. So the Edit version is completely fine with me. So I downloaded my last stream of this game, and I imported it into Vegas Pro and cut it down to where I wanted it, and did a little bit of cutting different sections, and then uh, putting them together so they kind of blend together. And then I was going to there was some nudity, and I was going to edit out the nudity, but like blur it out. Like I'm like, they do it on cops and all those types of different shows. And I'm not sure if they got better software or it's just this annoying. But in the end, I'm just like, I'm cutting out the nudity. It's not even worth having the nudity in with the way you did it. So I just basically said, screw that. Now, if this is how everybody does it, I respect those people that do the editing because I wouldn't want to deal with that. There's too much, every frame you got to make sure that the blur is on the stuff that you want to blur. It's a pain in the butt. But in that video, I had like the coolest little quest line, and it's part of the main quest. So you're not like going to not get it if you play this game. But what was his name? I think it was Father Godwin was his name. But I had a preacher who somebody went to him to confess that he was possibly a part of a murder of some sort. Naturally, you get to the town, you try to find this guy that apparently was a part of this murder and slaughter, and you find a group of people outside his home, and they show him, and he got completely all slaughtered himself and all gutted and whatnot. And of course, he apparently confessed to the father what had happened. So your job was to go over to this priest and talk to him and try to get his confession out of him so you could try to solve this murder. And in the process, he's like, no, I can't. I can't. Despite the fact that the guy's dead, I can't go against my vows and reveal something that somebody's confessed. And right away I'm just like, well, you're going to be arrested then. That's my thought. Obviously, they didn't allow you to do it in the game. I guess I could have just started swinging my sword at him. But I was like, he's like, I might have an idea. Uh, Meet me at the pub, in the evening, and we'll try to figure something out, or the tavern, I should say. Uh, so I'm like, okay. So I start going around, just fooling around, and I go back to him, and all of a sudden, I don't think it was a real sword. I think it was a wooden sword. Nonetheless, he had a sword with him, and I'm just like, you're you're part of a you're a holy man, and usually they're against violence. They don't do violence type stuff, and he's got a sword on him, and I'm like, that is odd. I wonder if it's one of the things where it's just AI doing weird stuff. But I then go to the tavern, waste a whole bunch of time and fast track time essentially, and I go into the tavern and he's sitting there. And the most weirdest thing is he's got a concubine with him. It even, the character was even called Godwin's concubine. So it's a priest that isn't the most holy, I would say. Or maybe it's your typical priest, I would say, probably, when it comes to priests back in those days. Now they just mess with little boys. But back then, I imagine they were more just as bad, but a little bit more on the uh, normal aspect when you talk about not messing with little boys. So I go down. I attempt to talk to her, but apparently it didn't give you an option to. So I started talking to him, and he started uh, going about dealing with the situation, and he wants to know more about me and blah 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 blah. In the end, we kind of I don't think we necessarily agreed to anything particularly well, but at the end of the day, he's like, "Well, I go basically and say I'm completely tuckered out," and it's like, "What did you have in mind?" You say to the father, and you're like, "Well, I want to drink some more," type of thing, and I literally thought he meant have another drink. So I'm just when the option came up that I could choose whether I wanted to drink or not drink, I'm just like, yeah, sure, let's have another drink type of thing. And of course, they do a cut scene where you're basically going drink after drink after drink to the point where you're both drunk as heck and you're past curfew, and the bailiff comes in and attempts to kick you out, and basically the father doesn't want to go, so he throws him out of the tavern. The bailiff throws him out of the tavern, and then of course the father, the priest is like, "Oh, you want to have a go at it?" And he's like, "Back me up, Henry," when Henry is you. So then you're basically getting into a brawl with the town's guards, essentially, and it just goes mistake after mistake after mistake. So due to the fact that this game's got a lot of Eurojank, as they call it, basically what Eurojank is there's a huge high expectation, and it's very epic in its vision, but it's also still a, a fairly small budget indie type game. So you have some bugs here and there. And I think that's what happened with this situation, because after that has been done, they do another cutscene, and you're basically, it says, go up to the bell tower with uh, Father Godwin. And I'm like, hey, why am I going up to the bell tower? But essentially, in my drunkenness, I go up and finally get into the doorway, and all of a sudden, there's the passing time clock type of thing, and it says you're you're spending jail time. So somehow I got arrested during this little scene, but I don't think it was meant to happen when it did happen, type of thing. Because although I'm in jail, I'm not in jail, because the next scene, I'm passed out in a barn, and Father Godwin's having sex with his concubine, and I guess it's like the bartender or somebody comes over to me and has sex with me, type of thing. Uh, so then there's that. Then there's the next cutscene. He's literally acting like a sheep, and he's like bang, like bah, bah. And of course, there's other like there's actually real sheep there as well, and they're doing their thing. So he's basically like mocking them type of thing, but he's almost being serious. He's not actually mocking them. He's actually Im- intimidating. Yeah, intimidating, imitating him, and imitating. Now I'm just like, never mind. Uh, imitating the sheep. There we go. So after that, he basically says gives this nice speech about you know how good of a guy I am and all that stuff, and then he just throws up right beside me. And then after that, we're both passed out again, and this time we're inside his house, and he his concubine kicks him and basically wakes him up, and she's like, you need to get ready before they eat you alive, type of thing. And of course, he doesn't realize what's going on because he's too drunk. And then he starts to remember. It's like, oh crap, I'm supposed to give mass. So in this long thing, he's like, I'm willing to give you the confession if you do the sermon for me. He's like, I can do I think it's called eulogy or something like that. Uh, he can do that part, but I need to do the sermon. And obviously, I try to push back because I'm not a preacher. And it goes on for a few minutes, but essentially, I agree to it because he's going to give me the confession if I do this. And in the end, I botch it completely. And that's where I kind of ended the game that night. But now I'm really, really confused because he was my only lead. And now I have nobody. And now he's like, you need to find somebody else because you didn't help me. You screwed me over by failing the mission or failing the. Well, I did fail the mission, but I failed the his sermon. So now I need to figure out what the heck to do. The only thing he has done to me though is he had when I first met him, he sent me on a quest to stop a witch. Essentially, she apparently she's not bad, but she's just basically spreading witchy stuff like nonsense, according to him. So I need to go to her to do this quest. Now I'm not sure if that will open up the possibility that he might give me some information because I've done that. But right now I have no leads, and I need there's nothing on the map that says how about you try here? How about you try there? Anything I can do is literally go to every single little person that I can see in the town, and hopefully they can come up with something. But something tells me no, that's not happening. I kind of want to look it up, but I don't want to as well. But anyway, that was one of the coolest quests that I've had in this game so far, just because it was so kind of off the wall. And I'm hoping there's a lot more quests like that in this game. But anyway, that is Kingdom Come Deliverance, and that is what I was playing all last week. So now we will get on to the news. Uh, this isn't like news, but the Shapeshifting Detective has came out currently today. Uh, while I'm doing this live, it has come out today. And now, if anybody doesn't know what this is oh crap, I should have. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to get better at this. Uh, it is a full motion video game, and it is okay. There it is. It is from the same developer who did the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker. So I'm not sure if there's a whole lot of people from the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker that's in this game, but I do know the attractive redhead that was in that game is in this one, the shapeshifting detective. And also, if you haven't played Contradiction, which I highly recommend you do. In fact, I'll probably stream it on here eventually. But Conf- uh, Contradiction was the first game that I seen, and in fact, I liked what I seen so much that I went ahead and paid the $10. It's only $10, and it's definitely worth it. I don't know anybody that hasn't played it. Uh, and by know anybody, I mean literally anybody that has streamed it. That anybody has a playthrough. I've even heard some podcast people talk about it. Nobody has anything bad to say about Contradiction. The only bad thing about Contradiction is they got in over their heads and they didn't think it was going to cost as much as it did. And although they finished it, they will. It looks like they're never going to have a sequel to the game, and it's sad because they set it up to have a sequel, but I guess they didn't get enough money because it was kickstarted, I think, to begin with, and I guess the aftermarket money just never got enough steam that they could get enough money to get another one made. So it's really sad. Now, the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, that is a really cool Cthulhu type vibe to it. So you have to deal with possibly going mad, and it's one of those ones where it's like, what's really going on? And at the end, you kind of make your own assumption about what's really going on. Uh, it's pretty cool. Now, when it first came out, it was you typed your own questions, so you could type anything, any question you want, and however you wanted it, but it had to have certain keywords in it. Otherwise, it wouldn't actually take. So it's kind of like an old one of those old adventure games, like the word with that was just text based, where you could actually say, say something that you would want to do, and it would say, well, if you could do it or not, and if you don't know the command that you're wanting to do, you just can't do it. So it was originally done like that, and then I guess a lot of people complained because they couldn't get the vibe of it down and what types of words that they were looking for. So they eventually ended up putting pre-made questions that you could actually put in there if you want to use that, or you can still type it in. So it was nice that they did that, but they didn't need to. But that was a pretty nifty game. And now this is their new one, and it's again uh, live action, full motion video game. And actually, side note, the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker apparently had the most hours in a full motion video game, like recorded stuff. So they got a Guinness Book of World Records record. But this one's got the redhead. In fact, she's, if you are watching the uh, video podcast, she's the one in the center holding the gun with the picture I'm showing right now. Uh, she was in the Madness of Dr. Decker, and the guy right next to her on the left, that is the guy who played the detective in Contradiction. So it's cool how they're actually using a lot of these people, because the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker had another Contradiction actor as well. In fact, they kind of said that this was kind of Dr. Decker was like a spiritual successor in a way to Contradiction, but Contradiction's on a to me it's on a whole nother level, because there's different locations, there's different there's a whole actual like town that you go in and stuff, and I think that's what costs them so much money, because I'm sure certain people want money if they're going to use their location and all that stuff. And that's, I think, what happened with Contradiction, where the infectious madness of Dr. Decker, it's basically you're a detective slash shrink. So the whole game, you're basically talking to people on a couch, and you're trying to figure out who murdered the doctor that came before you, type of thing. So it's, again, very low budget. All you had to do is pay for uh, the actors and a couch, which I'm sure you probably already had that to begin with, and then you make the game, type of thing. So very cheap. I'm not sure how this is going to be, but I'm hoping this has like different locations and stuff. Obviously, with full motion videos, you're going to have, because they're low budget, and you're going to have some acting that's not so great. But I enjoyed the redhead in Dr. Decker, and I think his name was Jenks. Uh, the detective in Contradiction are he was awesome. So it's one of those things where if you are unsure about whether you would like to get into full motion video games, I would definitely highly recommend Contradiction first and foremost. But if you're also interested, this just came out and it looks interesting. Basically, I guess the idea is you are a detective and you're a shape shifting detective. I know, shocker, but you can, from what I gather, you're going to shapeshift into different characters that these characters that you're going to be interviewing and stuff might know. So to solve a mystery of some sort, I'm probably going to play it tonight, and I might even start streaming it. Hopefully, it's not horrible, because I'm horrible at stuff, and I tend not to do puzzles and stuff uh streaming, because I don't want to get stuck and then have people watch me get stuck. It's, to me, it's, I can't handle that pressure. I know some people can handle that pressure. I don't want to, I don't want to burden people with that crap. Or myself with that. But anyway, yeah, Dr. Decker. Yeah, Dr. Decker. Yeah, that's out. It's been out for about a year. Yeah, it's definitely over a year. I purchased it on May 19th, 2017. So yeah, Shapeshifting Detective is out now. Uh, the next one, I am going to have to get out the because I there's a time limit on it. But anyway, let's transition to it right now. Destiny 2 is it sucks, but you can find out personally that it sucks, because from a couple days ago till November 18th, Destiny 2 is free for PC, and not free to play, it's free. Once you actually accept the actual game, uh, it'll be in your account forever. Now, let me double check this real quick, because I want to say, uh, we'll just read this off. From today until November 18th, Destiny 2 will be free for people on PC to download through Blizzard's Battle.net client. The company announced today at BlizzCon. The giveaway is to mark the game's 1 year anniversary of first coming to PC. No, it's not. It's basically to get more players and to hopefully get them to download the DLC and purchase it. That's the reality. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Uh, I actually got it in a Humble Monthly bundle. That's how I know it sucked. Uh, so luckily, I only did the I only paid $12 for it, and I got some other really nice games too that I was really excited about, but I forget what they are because that was a couple months ago. But yeah, it's now available for free right now for PC users to download and play. All right. And next bit of news is Overwatch announced their new character for Overwatch. which is Ash is a female cowgirl, yeah, character. They acted like it was two characters to kind of like start out with, like, oh, we're getting a second character. And from what I gather, this so-called second character is an ultimate of what she does, which basically brings out this. I have only watched the video once, so you'll forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's some sort of robot-looking motorcycle type guy, and yeah, that's her ultimate. I think his name's Bob. Uh, but yeah, I like the video because it had McCree going, "It's and then she punches him right in the face, type of thing. Uh, but yeah, Overwatch, Blizzard knows what they're doing. If you've noticed, all the characters besides uh, what the heck's his name? The guy with the big fist. I forget his name already because I don't play on a regular basis. I play once in a blue moon. All of them have been females, I think, except for him. And you got the hamster. Okay, you got two characters. Every other one is girls. Even the was an Osiris, I think that's how you pronounce the name. Even has a female voice as the as its voice box essentially. So I take that as being female. But overall, Blizzard knows what they're doing because we all know how's the best way to advertise your game. Get people to cosplay. Guys cosplay, but women, I think, go overboard type, with it. And of course, they do everything. It's like, how can I make this slutty type of cosplay? So they know what they're doing. Blizzard's like, oh, how can we sell this new character? Oh, just make it a female. Whatever we need to do, just make it a female. There'll be hundreds of them at the next con, and then we can sell our thing just by having people dress up as the characters. Now they already even have a cosplayer that's already dressed up as this character. Now, to me, I didn't read the article about this cosplayer, but I imagine the only reason there's a cosplayer already out there is because she was paid by Blizzard to have that set up already to go. Because I know there's cosplayers that can get some stuff together real quick, but I don't think they can get it together like you have 2 days, 2 or 3 days, go type of thing. So I imagine it's kind of like what was it 2K did with the that one game that failed that came out roughly around Overwatch time. I forget what it was called because even though it wasn't Overwatch, it kind of had that vibe of Overwatch. I forget the title, but I remember they had multiple people make costumes for those characters to prance around type of thing. But so I imagine that's what happened with the whole Ash thing. I could be wrong, and it would kind of blow my mind if that is not the case. Alrighty, next bit of disappointment. Uh, Blizzard announced the new Diablo, and the new Diablo is Diablo Immortal, which is going to be a mobile game. They said it's going to be a full featured Diablo. Uh, I think this is sacrilege to begin with. I thought it was even kind of sacrilege to put it on console to begin with. I've always thought Diablo was a PC game. Now I'm not saying that Diablo 3 doesn't play well on console. To me, that doesn't matter. To me, I feel like Blizzard's just always been a PC uh, developer, and I realize with when it comes to Activision, they're like, we want money, so you're developing for everything. But now they apparently saved face, so they better be actually. Uh, it better be a fact that this is actually going to be happening. But apparently, they were going to announce Diablo 4 after they announced Diablo Immortal, but they decided to pull that. Now, naturally, they said that after that there was a huge backlash for a mobile Diablo game. People were like waiting and waiting and waiting, and then for a new Diablo, and then we finally get a new Diablo, and it is a mobile game. Nobody wants that. Nobody. Uh, Now, of course, they're like, well, mobile games are the future. I'm like, I don't think they're the future in some aspects, but I don't think people are going to necessarily make mobile gaming their uh, main platform, except for the casual people, like minivan moms, essentially, and maybe smaller kids that just don't have a console at the moment. But in the end, your teens and young adults and maybe even adults that are still playing games, they're going to want a console or a PC. That's just the reality of it. And I think to save face after the backlash, they're just like, oh wait, well we were going to announce Diablo 4. And that's what they should have done if they were actually being serious, because they've already seen what happened with Fallout. They announced, the Fallout Shelter app, and everybody was like, "That's kind of cool, but we wanted something else." And it wasn't until they, right after that, then they announced Fallout. What was it 4? Uh, and then everybody was kind of happy, but then when they played it, they were like, "Oh, it's more Fallout 3, essentially." And the graphics aren't all that great and all that nonsense. But yeah, so we're getting a new Diablo. I don't really have an opinion about it anymore, because I was a huge Diablo 2 fan because I was playing it with my friend back in the day, and now Fallout, or did I say Fallout 2? If I said Fallout 2, I'm sorry, I meant Diablo 2. Um, Diablo 3, on the other hand, I completely dismissed completely because A, I heard it was on console, and B, I heard the launch was pretty rough, so I ignored it for a long time. I finally picked it up when I was able to get it cheap enough. I think I spent around $15 for everything, or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculously cheap. So I got everything except for the Necromancer expansion, and I played a little bit of it, but I don't think I beat it. And basically, since I don't play with my friend anymore when it comes to that type of thing, I just don't really care about it. Uh, it's more, oh look, there's more enemies. Let's keep on clicking that mouse button type of thing. So yeah, it didn't keep me engrossed in the. I don't quite get the seasons. The seasons kind of confuse me as to what's the point. But anyway, I think that is. Oh no, no, I didn't rename this, so let me go back to this. Uh, I thought I was done. Rainbow Six Siege, which is a fun game, but apparently there's no way around this. I don't know why, but Rainbow Six Siege will remove sex and gambling references globally. Why, you ask? Because China. Now, I know China's got their thing with their government, and they're all more uptight about, I guess, certain things, and they don't want their people to uh, be privy to that type of stuff. But I don't think you should remove everything because of one country. I I I, I could be completely wrong, but I don't understand why you can't have one version that has all the stuff, and then one version that doesn't have all the stuff, and then the people in the rest of the world that plays Rainbow Six Siege, they see all that stuff, and in China they don't see all that stuff. You would think that would be possible in a online game, uh, unless there's like sound effects and somehow that would cause issues. But I'm like, if you can, I just don't get it. Why can't there be visuals for the rest of the world? And when anybody from China comes logs on, they don't see that stuff. I mean, to me, it wouldn't be any different than essentially a local ad block for anything in the game that has sex or gambling. But I'm not a programmer, so I don't know. But it seems a stupid move, and it's a shame because Rainbow Six Siege is apparently doing so well, despite the fact that it launched horribly. It, uh, it had a hard time picking up steam, but due to Ubisoft being, I hate to say this, a great company that they are, and I only say that they're great because they continue to support the products that they have until they feel that there is just no coming back. It's a complete failure type of thing. But Rainbow Six Siege started off bad, and they kept on supporting it, and the fan base slowly grew, and it continues to grow. But I want to say just them doing this could damage some stuff. There's a picture that has what was it from Kotaku that has what it would look like before and after, and of course they remove some slot machines, and they actually have a couple beer bottles, but it's a blank wall. I would assume they wouldn't actually just make it a blank wall unless that is an official image of what it's going to look like, and if so, that's kind of sad. But yeah, I think if they're going to do that, you need to put more effort into it and replace that stuff with other atmosphere and not just three bottles against a brick wall. But I think it's foolish and stupid. That's just like if Australia doesn't want to sell a certain game because of how uptight they are when it comes to censorship and whatnot, that should be fine. But the fact that everybody has to suffer because China doesn't want something in their games, no, they just shouldn't sell in China then, and they can suffer. And there's other games. And, see, that's what blows my mind. I don't understand this world. We're allowed to have all the violence in the world, and I think it's not even that. I think there's actually going to be blood removed from it as well. So again, you can shoot all the people you want and kill them. Granted, apparently, maybe in China it won't be a gory uh, affair, but in the end, you're still killing people. Killing people, completely fine in apparently every country in the world. But when it comes to sex, that's a no no. No, can't. Just, sex is bad, but killing's that's a okay. Now, obviously, I'm doing this from their standpoint. Obviously, I'm completely cool with killing, sex, whatever. But this mentality that something that is natural and doesn't necessarily hurt anybody, that's bad. But violence that destroys societies and countries, that's good. So, yeah, I don't quite get the censorship people. I'm just like, just don't censor anything. Just let people do what they want to do. And when you kind of consider that video games are an art, just let them do their thing. But we're living in a world where I guess China's getting big enough in the economy that it doesn't matter what the rest of the world wants. The rest of the world's not going to get it. China's going to get it, what they want, which could be a bad thing in the long run. I mean, because I'm not for censorship whatsoever. I'm for freedom, and yeah, always freedom. Anyway, I think I'm going to end this podcast right now, and I will see you all next week. And if you were watching or listening, thank you, and goodbye.